your most watched, most trusted news with certified First Alert weather. This is WITN News at Noon.
Good afternoon, I'm Lauren Baker. We start things off with weather this First Alert weather day, where it seems like we've got a mixed bag of weather items we are looking at today, Charlie. We got both heat and the potential for severe weather. We begin with that breaking news. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned the historic ruling of Roe versus Wade, ending constitutional rights for an abortion that had been in place for nearly 50 years. Today, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and community members are grieving after 21 innocent lives were taken by a gunman who entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and shot them. These are the pictures of those children and adults who lost their lives yesterday simply by going to school. It's a parent's worst nightmare, a car slamming into a school bus full of children. That's what this terrifying video captures in New Mexico back in February. Well, Derek, I have a quick question for you. Since you've been out there, how are the smoke and air conditions? Officials had told residents to be prepared for lingering smoke. Is that something people should still be on the lookout for? Are you ready for summer? Are you ready for the good times? Well, your bank account better be ready too. The cost of summer camp is expected to skyrocket this year. I want people to know at home, a lot of people are going to say, oh my gosh, they lost. They were the number 8 team in the country. Do you know how good you have to be number 8? Like, seriously, that was not no easy loss for them. That was not something that they take lightly, and that fans don't take lightly either. I mean, they packed the house this weekend. Today is Election Day 2022, and there are a number of races important to us here in Eastern Carolina. Throughout the day, we're bringing you comprehensive coverage of everything you need to know as the races develop on our website, on our news app, and right here on WITN News. Early voting wrapped up on Saturday, so only registered voters can vote in person today. Primary election day may be over, but we're getting more details on just how much money political groups are shelling out for candidates. On the Democratic side, it was a pro-Israel group called AIPAC that helped Valerie Foushee with $3.4 million in the 4th District primary, which covers Durham and Chapel Hill. And that's believed to be a record for outside spending in any North Carolina House primary. The group also helped Don Davis beat out Erica Smith right here in the East. Davis received criticism for the amount of outside support he got, over $2.1 million. On the Republican side is a group called Club for Growth. It spent at least $12 million to help Ted Budd in the U.S. Senate race and another $1.5 million on Bo Hines in the 13th Congressional District. And that's where the money really stands out. Hines is only 26 years old, and he only recently moved into that district where other candidates have much deeper roots. And if you think groups like these are done spending, think again. North Carolina at one point had the most expensive Senate race in history back in 2020. Americans are still getting hit hard in the wallet. The nation's inflation rate for the 12-month period that ended last month rose 8.6%, according to the Consumer Price Index. I was gonna ask, have you ever used a payphone, Jim?
This is your chance to really get on me now. Go ahead. You know I have. You know that I have.
Only a couple times, right?
You're really enjoying this a lot, aren't you? Okay,
only a couple times.
Oh, yeah. Hundreds of times. Yeah. You never have, obviously. Not once, right?
I used to play with them.
Oh, stop. This is not getting.
And I think when we think about flooding, we always think about homes and buildings being impacted, but drivers are impacted on a daily basis when there's flooding. So something like this is really going to help out those people there.
We always say hug your kids every day and every morning when they go to school or after school. Just do it every day, whenever you get a chance.
Hug your kids every day and every morning. That's the message some parents in Texas are telling others after tragedy strikes their children's school. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Baker. Today, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and community members are grieving after 21 innocent lives were taken by a gunman who entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and shot them. These are the pictures of those children and adults who lost their lives yesterday simply by going to school. The sudden loss of these students and teachers has shook the Uvalde, Texas community. On one side of your screen, you can see a prayer circle of residents praying for those victims and their families. You can see many of them crying and holding hands with one another. On the other side of your screen, you see the recovery efforts from yesterday when officials initially responded to the shooting. The gunman who killed those victims, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, is also dead. This comes 10 days after 10 people were shot and killed at a grocery store in Buffalo in a predominantly black neighborhood. Sadly, these shootings add to the growing list of mass shootings this year. The Gun Violence Archive reports there have been 213 mass shootings in the U.S. so far. 27 of those shootings have happened at schools. The shootings are stirring up more conversations about gun control, mental health, and safety in public places like schools. And while many disagree on what the next steps should be taken, everyone should be able to agree that something like this shouldn't have happened. We send things over to Tom Llamas, who has more on how an elementary school became a crime scene. And this morning, the Pitt County Sheriff's Office posted on its Facebook page saying, quote, "Our hearts are broken for the people of Uvalde, Texas. We speak all the time about how much we adore the children of Pitt County. Your children are our children, and now the children of Uvalde belong to us. We are all hurting after this senseless tragedy and send our prayers to those impacted." The Greenville Police Department also posted on its Facebook page today saying, quote, "Like you, our hearts are breaking over the senseless tragedy that took place in Uvalde, Texas yesterday. In addition to our regularly assigned school resource officers, we will have an increased presence and patrols at all schools within our jurisdiction until further notice. Your children are our children. Their safety is of the utmost importance to us." And other organizations have begun to honor those victims of that school shooting. Today, Google posted a black ribbon and a message on its homepage saying, "Our hearts are with the community of Uvalde, Texas." And the shooting has sparked emotion across different arenas. Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr was fired up last night, speaking at a pregame press conference about the deadly school shooting in Texas. Visibly shaken, he called for action from lawmakers to help end mass shootings. Outrage over the shooting is also reaching other countries. France's President Emmanuel Macron spoke on Twitter today. He called the shooting a cowardly attack, saying 19 victims were under the age of 10. Children and teachers were murdered in a cowardly attack in their Texas school. We share the shock and grief of the American people and the rage of those who are fighting to end violence. And this terrible mass shooting is renewing important discussions about school security and the key question, is there any way to stop them? Stephanie Gosk has more on that. We also have some breaking news for you today. A student faces charges after police say they tried to pull a prank of a potential shooting at a school here in the East. Greenville police say they were notified by a parent about a social media post that was circulating around referencing a potential shooting at J.H. Rose High School. Officers immediately began working on the case and were able to identify the person behind the post, which was a J.H. Rose student. That student confessed they made the post as a prank. The threat came 19 hours after a mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Texas. In addition to criminal charges, the student will not be allowed back on school campus. Police say there is no ongoing threat at the high school. Let's now turn to your first alert forecast, where it seems like focus is on Friday for the potential of some severe storms coming our way.